this number. Yep. We're good?
Okay. Call the planning board meeting to order for Monday, November 25th, 2019. First item, if we can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can I have a roll call?
James Abdallah.
Yes.
Derek Rosenbaum.
Yes.
Rick Terry.
Yes.
Reg Carter.
Here.
Marissa Gilbert is absent. Kurt Irvin.
Yep.
Loretta Reyes. Yes.
Thank you. So starting off with old business, planning board application 2019-14, 2, 4, and 10 George Street has been tabled for this month. If you have anything else to offer.
Nope, the applicant called this morning and requested to be tabled because they did not have representation, so they'll be back, probably next month.
Okay. Do we need an official tabling of the application? Or is
I
that
would
just-
recommend not actually tabling that because then it's just
Okay. So they just want
leave
to,
it for them to return.
just to return. Okay. Okay. Moving on to planning board application 2019-17, to Saratoga Court. Is request to subdivide an approximately 42,579 square foot parcel into 2 new buildable lots of 19,906 square feet and 10,774 square feet, and 1 new lot with an existing residence. The applicant is, Hai Chen? Ray Chen. The plan preparer is Dean Ladwick.
Okay, so the planning board heard this project last month, and determined this to be a minor subdivision. It's now back for final approval. So again, this is a 3-lot subdivision to carve out 1 lot with an existing single-family residence and create 2 new buildable parcels from 1 large lot out on Saratoga Court. So these are the same slides we saw last month, so I'll just quickly go through them just for the record. We'll leave it for here. This is the large parcel here out in Saratoga Court. This is showing the property is in the R1 zoning district. This is a map just showing that the property is not in the historic district in the city, and there are no wetlands or anything on the property. And here's some site photos. So this is on the corner of Saratoga and Flagler, looking west for the property here on the left, the corner parcel. More site photos. Again, the parcel is here on the left. The property line, new property line, will be approximately where this fire hydrant is. This is the existing single-family residence, which will also be carved out into 1 lot. And here is the final plan showing the 3 new lots being created from the 1 large lot on the corner of Saratoga and Flagler. The lot sizes do conform to the R1 zoning regulations, and the map does have all the required details, including meets and bounds, utility details, setbacks. Other than that, we are requesting the project just add the typical signature block for final approval. We have completed secret part 2 and no significant adverse impacts were identified. So it's recommended that the planning board find a negative determination for this project. And I'd like to open it up to Dean for further discussion.
Basically, the way that we tell the story of what we're trying to do here, simple, 3 lot subdivision, 1 lot with an existing structure improvements. and we're looking to create lot 2 and lot 3, which would be new building lots that would serve the public utilities.
No further comment? Dean, I noted in here you have some referenced easements on notes 10 and 11 of the subdivision.
Originally, this lot was encumbered by 2 easements, one held by NYSEG and one held by the First Pacific. That's why the structure was built where it was. Because really the remainder of the lot, where lots 2 and 3 are now proposed, were covered by those 2 easements. Since this subdivision was created, the original subdivision was created, one of these easements, which was held by NYSEG, was transferred to the city of Plattsburgh. City had relocated a power line further to the west and has abandoned that right away. The easement that was conveyed to First Pacific was transferred to a power company which has terminated that easement, which frees up this area for the 2 lots.
Would you be able to get us copies of that documentation for our file?
We have an email from the PMLD,
Okay.
and then a copy of that easement that was held by NYSEG, First Pacific. We have a copy of that also.
Okay.
I can email it to you.
Would it normally, would PMLD normally terminate their easement similar to the way the other power company did, you know, with a book and deed page, or is that?
I don't think it was done that way. It was, they relocated a power line to better locate the transmission line that runs through this project. And it runs down some streets.
Mhm.
Other than the email that I received from PMLD telling me that it has been abandoned, that they no longer have interest in this easement.
Okay. I think as long as the planning department has something on file with
Sure.
the subdivision map, that's probably
We can do that.
appropriate. Any other comments from the board? No? Okay. If not, we do have a public hearing associated with this project. I'll open it up to the public for any comment. Okay, if there's no public comment, I'll close the public hearing. We do have a seeker resolution for consideration. We have a part 2, the short form draft completed by planning. If there's no comment, do I have a motion on the seeker?
I'll make a motion to approve the seeker as indicated. Planning board finds no significant adverse environmental impact.
Okay,
Second.
second. No further comment, all in favor?
Aye.
Actually, I apologize. Roll call?
Jim Umbrella,
Yes.
Derek Milton,
Yes.
Rick Perry,
Yes.
Red Turner,
Yes.
Kurt Gardner.
Yes.
Okay. Now, do I have a motion for the final approval of the minor subdivision?
Conditions.
With conditions that were discussed.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay. Do you want them to actually outline the conditions, or?
Is that just not getting us the
The
documentation?
letter,
Yeah.
the easement.
I don't think that's
No,
necessary.
It's good with the, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Roll call.
Derek Rosenbaum,
Yes.
Rick Perry,
Yes.
Red Turner,
Yes.
Kurt Gardner,
Yes.
Jim Umbrella.
Yes. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
That was good there. That was a lot. Thank you.
Okay, moving to planning board application number 2019-20, 1D College Avenue. The request is to subdivide an existing parcel of 2.22 acres into 2 parcels of 26,781 square feet and 69,788 square feet. located at the corner of College Avenue and Ruger Street. The applicant is Susanberg LLC, plan preparer is Scott Allen.
Okay, so again, this is another returning project, the planning
I
board
have to
heard last month and
excuse.
determined to be,
Sorry.
sorry,
Me, I have to excuse
Oh, okay.
myself
sorry.
from this application.
Or whatever you're doing.
Okay, now we're back on a roll. So again, this is a returning project from last month. The planning board heard this and determined it to be a minor subdivision. Again, it's a request to subdivide a parcel with 4 apartment buildings, 10 units each, into 2 separate parcels. Lot 1 will have 1 building, and Lot 2 will retain the remaining 3 buildings. This is a overview map here of the location of the property. This is Ruger Street, and this is College Ave that circles around. Here's the zoning map showing the property is in the R2 residential district. This is a map showing the property is not in the historic district, or there's no wetlands on the property. And some site photos. So this is one of the apartment buildings on Ruger Street on the corner of College and Ruger. This will be part of Lot 2. Driving down College Ave, the apartment complex is to the left. And then circling around the back, this will be part of Lot 1. The driveway, which may have a better photo, here we go. So the new lot line essentially is on the middle of this driveway. And this is the final subdivision plan. The 2 lots do meet all of the zoning requirements in this district. No variances are required. The plan does show all the required details, including easements for that shared access drive where the new lot line will be. Utility easements, the utility mains and laterals are shown on the plan, meets and bounds, dimensions. The project has also identified new garbage service for Lot 2, right here. I will also note the project has provided a parking table that shows that both lots are about 5 spaces, 4 or 5 spaces deficient of the required number of spaces, but the sufficiency is pre-existing non-conforming. It's not worsened by the proposed subdivision, so no variances are required at this time. I have no further comment besides that. We have completed secret part 2, and no adverse impacts were identified, so it's recommended that the planning board find a negative determination for the project. I'd like to open it up to Scott for any further comment.
Melina, I would only say that we received a very detailed comment letter from Community Development, Melina, dated October 11th, and we responded to each of those items and provided a narrative dated November 8th, in which we responded to those items. So I think we've got everything covered. Unless you have any questions for us.
Board have any comments, questions? I guess my one comment, yes, ultimately Melina had outlined about the parking total today is pre-existing non-conforming. And just to clarify, it would be the same thing under this subdivision. We did not receive any comments from the building inspector in this case, but I don't know if you had any additional review or.
No.
No.
Discussions on that.
Okay, okay. As far as you provided some draft easement language, and there is very general outline of shared access, shared utilities. Is there any language gonna go in there for, shared maintenance or?
The only aspect that's shared is the driveway coming off College Avenue.
Okay,
To the south, to the north of the north leg of College Avenue. That driveway right there will be shared because it still provides access into this parking lot.
So maintenance as far as snow plowing, et cetera, will be shared
Yeah.
between the.
Yeah, let me see. Wait a minute, let me see what we say in the language. Until shared access, lots 1 and 2 shown above, or shown on the aforementioned subdivision plan shall each share, be subject to a 20-foot wide easement for, area for ingress and egress, which easement area lies 10 feet each side of the east line of lot one, and the west side of lot two as shown on the above referenced map. So I think what you're asking, Jim, is, or suggesting is maybe we add a clause to, or add a sentence to that clause to indicate that the shared, that the maintenance of that shared easement for ingress and egress will be shared as well.
I mean, whatever your legal representation probably comes up with, but
Yeah. Shared maintenance as well.
and I don't know if they wanna clarify anything about stormwater, but that's very general, but
Yeah, I said the owner of lot two shall not interfere or interrupt the existing stormwater sheet flow that runs off lot one onto lot two.
that's the one.
I just got one quick question, but it wouldn't hold this up, but is there any reason for, when you do this up, for continuing to have the driveway off of College Avenue, to the north, still be available to Lot 2? Because Lot 2 has, driveways out onto the east side of College Avenue in two different spots that take care of the three buildings there. So I was just wondering what the thought was behind having both lots using the driveway going north-south.
Well,
I mean, if it was only owned by Lot 1, then, and we discussed this just as a hypothetical, if someone decided to build a fence to partition Lot 1 from Lot 2, that would create a real problem, the way you've divided this with both lots having access to that driveway. In fact, does Lot 2, Lot 2 is the one to the east, does that need to have access to that driveway?
it's relied on access since the development was built.
Okay.
The property line goes down the center of that driveway. The easement that we're talking about filing would restrict any opportunity to build a fence down that property line.
Okay.
So the fact that it's there, it's in existence, I think it, it enhances the traffic flow.
Sure.
Yeah.
Traffic patterns
Yeah.
in those parking lots, so, we didn't propose to cut it off.
Scott, if you can provide just a final draft of whatever you update the easement to planning.
We'll put it in a jacket and a recording jacket, get it over to you.
Okay, okay. Any further comments, questions? No? Okay. If not, we do have a public hearing associated with this application, so I'll open the public hearing to anyone in the public that may have comments. Okay, if there's no comments, I'll close the public hearing. We do have a draft seeker, part 2, prepared by the planning department for consideration. Have any comments or questions from the board in regards to that? If not, I have a motion to accept the seeker resolution.
I'll move to accept the secret resolution.
Okay, as drafted.
As drafted, yes. Or can I? I don't know.
Loretta made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Reg second. If there's no further comments, have a roll call.
Rhoda Ransom,
Yes.
Reg Carter,
Yes.
Kurt Burbidge,
Yes.
Jim Abdullah,
Yes.
Derek Rosenbaum.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the final minor subdivision with conditions that were discussed with the applicant?
Motion to approve.
By Reg, second? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Loretta.
Rick Carter.
Roll call.
Yes.
Member Kurt Burbidge.
Yes.
Jim Abdullah.
Yes,
Derek Rosenbaum.
Yes.
Loretta Brianza.
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
folks.
Scott.
Okay, moving on to new business. This planning board application number 2019-22, 57 Court Street. The project is a request to replace an asphalt and slate roof with like materials to match existing conditions located at 57 Court Street, which is within the historic district. The applicant is Mark Schneider, and preparer is Mark Schneider.
Okay, I'll just give a quick
Pass it
overview, Mark, and then I'll let you speak to the project. So again, this is a request to replace existing asphalt shingles with asphalt shingles and slate shingles with slate shingles on a historic building at 57 Court Street. So this is an overview of the property. It's outlined here in yellow. Here's Court Street, and I believe that's Oak Street. Here's the zoning map showing the property is in the RH residential district. This is our historic site map layer showing the property here is in the historic district. And this is the SHPO inventory form referencing the building as the C.H. Richardson home, circa late 1800s. It's referenced as one of only a handful of early federal style of architecture examples in Plattsburgh. And here's some site photos. So this is looking south at the house from Cornelia Street. You can see the asphalt shingles on the front side of the roof here. And this is looking east, and you can see both the slate and asphalt shingles from this angle. Again, just a close-up of the deteriorated shingle roof. This is the slate that is proposed to replace the existing slate roof. And this is a cut sheet of the shingles proposed to replace the shingles there, and I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it was antique silver. I guess that's it. So we have reviewed seeker part 1, determined this to be an unlisted action, also completed seeker part 2, and no significant adverse impacts were identified, so I'm recommending the planning board find a negative determination for the project. Now I'd like to open it up to Mark for further comment.
These are some of the shingles I'm replacing that I picked up off the ground after the last windstorm. And I would just request you expeditiously approve this. It's been somewhat of a hardship having to wait 2 months. This roof was a 25-year roof that's about 40 years old. So I wish there had been some kind of procedure to bypass this in light of the condition of the roof, but I was told that there wasn't, so hopefully we can get a new roof on this winter. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the board?
Straightforward request.
It's pretty much replacing.
Yeah, replacing as is.
You can see the color.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if there's no further comments from the board, we do have a public hearing associated with this application, so I'll open the public hearing to anybody in the public that may have comments. If not, I'll close the public hearing and move on to the seeker resolution, which we do have a draft seeker part 2 completed by the planning department, I believe. My paperwork I'm pull off. Do we have?
We do have one, I don't know.
Yeah.
We do have one, yes.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you. Does anybody on the board have any comments or questions in regards to the part 2? If not,
Well, only that there are parts that are unmarked, so it looks incomplete. I mean, the parts that are unmarked, I don't think have any bearing on the project, but.
Part
On the
one.
seeker?
Part 1. Maybe what's on the Dropbox isn't current? Or
The paper seeker's complete.
the paper seeker is complete,
This part two, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Part two or part one?
Did you wanna see this, Kurt?
I'm looking at part one.
Okay.
Sure.
This
I'll
is
take a
part-
look. And
that's
that's
part
part
two.
two, but I just want to now just clarify like what I'm looking at as compared to. Yeah, so part one is not complete. But
Is there any clarifications you wanted to add to the part one?
I would suggest that we complete it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it has any bearing on the approval of the project.
Okay. Okay. Well, with that said, if you don't think, believe it has any bearing on these part two, answers,
Correct.
then we will, and there's no further comment from the board, I guess we'll continue on, in terms of a motion for seeker. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the seeker.
I will
As
note too
drafted.
that in the seeker resolution, under the seeker heading, I have, the staff has updated seeker part one to reflect the following changes. Question 12A is yes, question 12B is yes, question 20 is yes. So I actually fixed all of those missing sections in part one and initialed it, added it to our resolution.
Okay, thank you,
Yep.
Thank you.
thank you. So I have a motion,
Make a motion to approve the seeker as drafted.
okay. I have a second?
Second.
Second from Rick. If there's no further comments, roll call.
Kurt Kurdish,
Yes.
Jim Abdullah,
Yes.
Derek Rosenbaum,
Yes.
Rick Perry,
Yes.
Rich Carter.
Yes.
Okay. I have a motion, can I have a motion for the acceptance of the historic site application?
I'll make a motion to approve, shoot, I don't have the number, sorry. Application number, somebody help me out.
2/19/22.
There we go.
Everybody will be out.
You want this to read, Kurt?
As proposed.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Perfect.
Second.
Second by Reg. Yes.
Jim Abdullah,
Yes.
Derek Rosenbaum,
Yes.
Rick Perry,
Yes.
Rich Carter,
Yes.
Kurt Kurdish.
Yes.
Thank you.
So tomorrow I can get a permit?
Get a building permit.
Great,
Starting
thank
tomorrow.
you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
Can I get that back, Kurt?
Moving to the
Paperwork from,
last, new application.
grab my papers. when
You
you're
have
done.
Rick's papers, Loretta? I think you mixed them and took them.
You're gonna come in, right?
Now we know.
I didn't get anything on this one.
Now we know how this has been, right? We
In
just.
the packet, I picked it up there.
Here's this one.
Thank you.
Okay.
I may have accidentally grabbed one.
I'll let you keep it, cause you're gonna need it.
I'm good right now, I'll share it with you. So,
Yeah.
moving to planning board application number 2019-23, this is for 148 US Oval. The request to replace all existing vinyl windows and hardwood trim with replacement vinyl windows and hardwood trim at 148 US Oval, which is within a historic district. The applicant is Tenzin Jory? Georgie? And Glenn prepares also Tenzin. Melena will make a short presentation, and then you can come up to, anything.
I just wanna, this is actually not Tenzin. We got a late affidavit, so it's not in your packet, but these two gentlemen are representing him and we have affidavits for both.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
All right, again, this is a request to replace vinyl windows with hardwood, vinyl windows and hardwood trim in the Oval Historic District at 148 US Oval. So this is an overview of the site. This is the property here. It's part of a duplex. This is the west side of the US Oval, and this is Route 9 here. Zoning map showing the property is in the residential historic district. Historic overlay showing the property is in the Oval Historic District. Inventory form referencing the building as the US, distinguished by the Palladian windows on the side and indentals, but is generally characterized by its similarity to buildings designed in the Richard 300s. Vinyl windows with wood trim. This is the window on the front porch. I walked up and down the street and looked at the other 9 buildings in this complex, and they all do have the same vinyl windows. The applicant has provided us with a cut sheet. They're proposing to replace the windows with a Pella 250 series window that will match the existing style. We have reached out to SHPO regarding the requirements to coordinate. Originally, we had told the applicant they did not have to coordinate based on the fact that they're replacing like windows with like windows. But since the windows are not historic and they're not replacing them with historic windows, we do believe now that the project will have to coordinate with SHPO, which unfortunately will probably push the approval out another month until you're able to get that letter from them approving your request. But you're more than welcome to come up now and talk to us about your project.
I'll just introduce myself first. I'm Carlton Brown. I've been a Plattsburgh resident for my whole life. I've become friends with Tenzin and his wife, Young Chen, and his brother, Di Chen, who you folks probably know. They own the Himalayan restaurant downtown Plattsburgh. So Tenzin had called me over to his house to kind of scope out his window situation. And so I went over there, and him and I talked about what it would take to change the windows out and keep them within the regulations that you folks expect from during the replacement. So I think that after reviewing and looking at the windows and the windows that he has on order and is going to order, that they'll fall within the regulations of what you folks are asking for. So I am just the guy who's going to be doing the installations for Tenzin. Are there any questions that you folks have concerning anything to do with the windows at all?
I don't think so. It's just there's a programmatic agreement that was put in place back in 2000 when Park took over the Air Force Base that stipulated any rehabilitation to any of these historic buildings had to coordinate with SHPO. So essentially it's just, I think there's a pretty easy online system you can use where you upload what your project is going to be entailing, and then they'll respond to that with a letter. Unfortunately, usually that's a 30-day process for
That's
turnaround
okay,
time.
because we
Okay.
probably won't be doing it until the spring.
Okay, good. I felt bad because I know winter is here, but
Yeah.
so we can walk you through that process. You can even come into our office and we can do it together.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then once you get that letter from SHPO, then the planning board will be able to make a determination.
Okay, okay.
I do have one other question.
Hopefully I can answer it for you.
Well, yeah, hopefully. Each of the buildings that are part of this Oval West complex are members of an HOA. Does the HOA have an opinion of the windows that they've selected to?
Well, I'd hate to answer for Tenzin
Okay.
because I'm not part of that HOA scenario. So I think that would be a question better asked of him.
Okay.
And I don't know, I can't speak for Deacon, but he may have some information about that.
Just supplement this. I think he talked with the members of the HOA, and they didn't have any questions about that. So, and the recent incident I want to express is like I think a couple of days back, there's a strong wind, and it blew the Tenzin's windows, and it fell down and it's broken. So, and he's requesting if he can, the members can approve. He can replace the windows within this winter, and the rest of the windows he can replace during the spring. So
Will they be consistent with the windows on the other
Yes.
side of the duplex?
Absolutely,
Okay, so,
absolutely. Yeah.
because the other one is the HOA member, they have instructed Tenzin to replace the railing on the porch, which was like rotten and it was falling down. And at the time of changing, we found that one of the pillars is like just hanging there, so we replaced that too. So it was within the historic, everything in the same structure.
And I'd like to add too that trimming out the windows is not as difficult as it looks, because they will all be flush along with the arch on top and alongside, and then on the sill. I noticed that some of the sills, the wood was rotted, so that's gonna have to be replaced. I mean, whenever you take vinyl, replace windows, you always run into circumstances, especially with the trim. So it'll all be flat, as it did, as they were made, so. Other than that, I think we're gonna be in good shape.
So what's currently wood will be replaced with wood,
Absolutely.
and what's currently vinyl will be replaced with vinyl.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that the arch at the top, because that's not getting a lot of weathering and damage and rain and stuff, and that will be, I'll put that back in instead of making a new one, because they're all in pretty good shape, and then just paint everything the same color as they are. So that's the plan for that.
I think the windows up to this level, from there to here, I think it's like perfectly fine. The problem is it starts from here.
It's
I
the bottom
think
section.
this window is on the port side, so it's not, you cannot see the bottom part of the wood. So if you taken like where there's no shed on the water can easily come in, so that parts are all bottom, so everything is fine.
As for your window that you indicated fell in, you know, creating almost like an emergency condition with the window.
Oh, I guess I don't know anything about that, but it is in the.
I would coordinate, you know, in the meantime, I would coordinate with the building department in the city to remedy that until the board can make a decision on the overall
Sure, that sounds
application.
reasonable. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's the appropriate way, rather than the board
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope
approving
they-
or
yeah,
agreeing to
right,
anything.
if it's a
they
safety
put a
or
window back
emergency
up.
situation.
Yeah.
buildings, but-
What's
I
that?
hope they put a window back up for now.
I was gonna say, that's up to.
Something must be in there.
Yeah, that's up to the building inspector and the applicant, I think. So at this moment, we're waiting, I guess, a seeker review of the application with their determination. The applicant will go back to the building department for any kind of emergency conditions or anything like that. Do we want to table the application?
That's the appropriate, right? Table.
If you want, tabling it means it will automatically appear on the agenda every month, you'll have to remove it from the table. But yeah.
I think that's tabling, that they will want,
Don't have to reapply.
they won't have to reapply and come back with more.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have a motion to, just so you understand, tabling the applications means it'll be on the agenda
I got you.
next month,
Okay.
automatically.
Okay, good.
It won't be taken off for consideration unless there's the new information from SHPO has been received.
Okay. Okay.
And then, yes.
So I'm just curious, because it sounds like there's also an issue with a railing that's being replaced, and should that be added to the application?
Oh, I thought that had already been done.
The railing's been fixed?
Yes,
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
it's everything done with the similar with the other windows, so we cannot find any difference. So whatever the material we would reuse it, so we just grab it off, just gauge it, everything, and just keep what we want.
Okay.
I think we should actually get a statement from the HOA.
Yep, I agree.
It's just appropriate that this building is part of a complex of buildings that have multiple owners. And it should be agreed by the other owners.
Yeah,
Even though you had a discussion if we had a document for our record.
Okay, and what I'll do, I'll pass that information on to Tenzin when he gets back in town.
Okay.
And we can reach out to him as well and email him a
Yeah.
list of
Yeah,
things
he'd
that we
appreciate
needed
it. He'd
and, okay.
appreciate it,
So we're looking at right now, SHPO review, HOA statement or opinion. Is there any other comments from the board in regards to the application? No. If not, do you have a motion to table the application?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Ray,
Second.
second by Derek. Any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call, sorry.
Derek Rosenbaum,
Yes.
Rick Perry,
Yes.
Rich Carter,
Yes.
Kurt Garbage,
Yeah.
Jim O'Donnell.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank,
Thank
thank
you.
you, thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes. Okay. Moving on to other business. Discussion of development of organizational rules. So I'm assuming this is the discussion continuing from
From last month.
last month. Maybe one of you can refresh the,
Sure. This is essentially board policy statements, to outline appointments, processes, right?
And how, you know, the vice, who's the vice chair when the chair is not, or when the chair has to recuse himself, things like that.
Alternates, scheduling,
so commenting on the vice chair, I thought after reading the zoning regulations and specifically the subdivision regulation, that vice chair is determined by
the board.
the board?
I think there was conflicting
There was
statements, right?
conflicting statements in different portions of the code. I believe the last time Dean was planning on writing a local law to remedy the conflicts in the code. In one section, the subdivision code, I believe it's appointed by the mayor, and another section it's elected by the board members.
The same with the chair as well, correct?
Yeah. Actually, I don't recall it even talking about the vice chair at all. I mean, it refers to a vice chair, but I don't think it talks about the appointment or election of the vice chair.
I think that's ultimately what it was. I think that the mayor's appointment was the chair,
Right.
and then the alternate appointment, or the sitting of the alternates is by the chair. But then there was no clear definition on a vice chair.
Yep.
I think that's what Dean was going to
Yep.
look into.
So we have a very, very rough draft of these organizational rules. We've kind of been borrowing and stealing from the county, and I think maybe Keene, New Hampshire, a few other different
Couple of
municipalities to try and cobble something together for you guys to review. Unfortunately, we don't have it for this meeting, but, you know, by the beginning of the year, we'd like to have that in front of you guys to consider.
That document should be ready for review by next month. I can try to make that available in your packets for the December meeting.
But in the meantime, if there's anything you guys can think of that you would like to see in that document, obviously, reach out to us, email.
Yeah, prior to going on vacation, I had messaged Jim about, when a member is absent for a month, any carryover applications, there should be a statement that, we've become familiar with an application,
Yep.
and quite honestly, the review that you did with the carryover tonight was perfect. And that acquaints, somebody that missed a
Sure.
meeting with, understanding the scope and the dialogue that you had previously. So I
We
think,
found that in the code actually, and what you mentioned was, it's actually somewhere in the code. So
Yeah.
they are supposed to kind of make a statement.
But I think a lot of the stuff we might put in this document might already be in the code, but we kind of want to just kind of pull all of that out and put it into one
I
document
think
for us.
that's great.
Yeah.
It's a really good document to have.
Any other items in that regard?
Just out of curiosity, does the code or bylaws, whatever the term is for it, does it include things like term limits and all, okay.
So you'll be preparing sort of a draft?
Yes.
I think at last meeting, we also discussed the meeting date, which is gonna stay the fourth Monday of the month.
Is that the 23rd?
And it's,
For next month.
yeah, for next month. But then we also had talked about changing the time.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's reflected in the schedule and sheet.
Yeah, that's already on the 2020 schedule that's been starting to circulate already.
Okay, and I just wanna make that clear, cause I don't know that all board members
I
have
just saw that, yeah.
Starting in January though, not next month.
started.
I know it's tonight.
Okay,
I'm good with that one.
okay.
You weren't here last month, right?
Wasn't here, but we're moving to 6,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can give you a copy of the
Yeah, we're
schedule.
gonna meet at 5:30 and then.
5:30 and 6.
Okay. There was some discussion last month in terms of historic review, and I'm assuming that's going to be another long-term.
Yeah, that's an ongoing discussion.
That's, yeah,
Yes.
I think right now with the other things on the community development plate over the next couple of months, we're probably not gonna be touching that again until
The new year.
February at the earliest, maybe even later.
Okay. Any new process in terms of the zoning review and comprehensive plan review updates, or is that
I have
another-
sent in a draft RFP to the Department of State. I've followed up once a week since then. I think I submitted it in October 22nd or something, and it's been crickets ever since. But I think Barbara Kendall, who's our contact there, is spread very thin with a lot of different projects. So I'm just gonna keep hammering down, trying to get an approval for that draft RFP so we can get it out there, hopefully by the new year.
Okay. Okay.
It's encouraging.
Yeah. That's a lot further along than where we've
Yeah.
ever been in the past, so. I think unless someone else has anything to add to other business discussion, the one last item I saw that came across was the, draft, GEIS for the downtown projects. Was, came across everybody's email. It looks like the final comment date is actually, 4:00 on the day of our next planning board
I
meeting?
believe it's noon on December 23rd.
Is it noon?
Yes.
And the time is before our next planning board meeting.
Yeah, so I thought that was unfortunate that we received it on Friday
Uh,
with the meeting on Monday and then the comment period before our next meeting. Is it difficult for the board to make a collective statement as a board, right? We can make statements as individuals, but those are much, I tend to think hold less significance than the statement of a board that has been appointed by the mayor.
So, to your point, I don't know that we have enough information. I mean, I've taken a look at some of it. I'm sure other board members maybe have or have not taken a look at some. I don't know that as a board tonight, we have the ability to make a collective,
Right.
No, I don't think so.
Not tonight.
so,
So it seems like our only, well, go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, I'm pointing that out.
So
I
our
don't know
only
that I'm-
option for a collective statement, because we can't discuss it outside, if we're gonna discuss it as a board to make a collective board statement to the council, we would need to call a meeting, because we can't do that over email and we can't do that.
I will say though, I don't think your comments as individuals have any less merit than as a board. I know Chazen is required to look at every single comment and incorporate it if necessary into the DGIS. So I don't think that,
Okay,
they're not gonna look at it because I'm just one person versus a board. They have to. So I think you still have the opportunity to make comment that's meaningful.
yeah, I just feel collectively we have a lot of expertise that doesn't come across when several individual statements come in, but that's fine. So I guess what I'm wondering is, if we were gonna do something collectively as a board, we'd have to call another meeting. I don't know how people feel about that in the holiday season and all of that season.
Sure.
So I don't know how people feel about that. We could talk about it. Or we're just making individual statements, which are fine, but yeah, maybe I'm the only one that feels like a board statement is stronger.
I would agree if, you wanted to have an extra meeting or special meeting. I think it's a significant enough project that
Sure.
I think at least to say we're informed,
Mhm.
and then when we have to take the steps we take.
How much time do you think you would need to review the document and then have the meeting?
Well, I'm on page, I don't know, 22 or something. I don't know, 46. I'm better than I thought. But I mean, you know, it hits a point where there's not, you
Yeah,
don't
the
need to read
language is
every word
repetitive
and
and
all.
it's just explaining
Right,
values over and
right,
over,
and it's
yeah.
just more detail.
Sure.
But how much notice time do we need to give on a meeting?
10 days?
No, I don't think it's 10 days. It's about 5 days, usually, which falls on the Wednesday before the meeting.
I think it's a range of 5 to 10 days for 3 consecutive days.
Yeah, I mean, with a special meeting, I think it would be as soon as practicable, though. I think that's the ideal language.
It has to be open to the public.
It's just a public meeting, it's not a public hearing.
Right.
So we're not looking to get, you know what I mean, that has a different set of, a longer time frame to
Yeah.
schedule.
Do we want this, I mean, does it have to be a public?
I mean, it has to be a
Anytime we
public
have a
meeting.
quorum.
I mean, it has to be a public meeting, but a public hearing is different, it doesn't need to be a public comment session, but it needs to be open to the public for that.
We have to meet in public so someone could
Right.
sit and listen.
Technically, I think there's rulings out there that if the, you know, if the board collectively went back and forth on email, that's deemed,
No, it has to be for public records.
it's somehow deemed a public,
Yeah.
I don't know how that, but I've been warned against that,
Yeah,
It's an issue.
would come,
Yeah.
yeah.
December 9th is the public hearing for the DGIS, I believe, which is not next Monday, but yeah.
That's 2 Mondays.
Is that hosted by the common council?
Mhm.
3 Mondays would be the zoning board meeting using this room, and then 4 Mondays comes back to the.
We had some
Next week.
discussion last time about the possibility of canceling the December meeting. And
That
we-
was potentially if we didn't have a quorum, but I think we have a quorum.
Okay. Is there any opportunity to reschedule that meeting, pull it up
Move it up a week.
a week earlier?
The calendar's been published,
I believe we're already extending our deadline for planning board submittals from this Friday, which our office is closed, to the following Friday, which would be the 6th.
yeah.
So moving that meeting up even a week, it
Yeah,
doesn't give a
unfortunately.
review period.
Moving it back, maybe, but we still publish the calendar.
I think then though, you risk that you have to get every applicant
Yeah.
to agree, and,
Yeah.
you know, at this point, I almost think it's gotta be
Yeah.
a second meeting if the board feels it's, you know, appropriate and
I mean, I guess the reason that I would speak in favor of a meeting is that the community looks to the planning board on projects like this to provide some guidance, and our guidance might be the GIS looks great and we support it, which would then lend some support to a project that has been controversial. Holding a public meeting on a project that people may feel like there hasn't been a lot of opportunity to give input is always good. And not having a meeting so that we're then silent seems silence seems strange, right? I think.
Yeah, you go silent, you lose your transparency.
You lose transparency, people question,
Yeah.
Lose credibility.
I agree.
yeah, you lose credibility, yeah.
Yeah.
well,
I think it's fine, just find a date that works.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, if a
Yeah,
majority of
let's
the
just do
board's in
it.
agreement, what's,
Next week anytime?
Sure, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, if you can get it
We can try to
published
book
in
the room.
time, yeah.
Publish.
Actually, next Tuesday is the county meeting for those that are attending that.
Oh, the training?
Yeah,
So we can't do that.
Mhm.
so not that night.
Wednesday?
I'm gonna be in Vermont, but I can do that. Cancel.
No, you cancel.
It's just getting my winter tires put on.
Oh. That's not that exciting. Next Wednesday?
It's up to the board.
Is that the 4th?
Yeah.
Do Wednesday the 4th?
Wednesday the 4th?
Does that give you all sufficient time to review? That's about a week and a half from now.
let's see here.
What's the date? I'm sorry.
Wednesday the 4th?
Wednesday the 4th. How many pages is it? 200? Oh, 198.
But it's,
A lot of data from the traffic study and
yeah, the
Mm,
the big picture is in the first 20 pages, even
If
10
they,
to 12.
if they can get the room, I mean, or a room, we don't have to meet at 7 o'clock unless
Right.
there's someone, I mean, we could schedule a public hearing, or a public meeting for 4 o'clock if people
Yeah.
Sure.
felt,
Oh, earlier would be better,
Four PM on the fourth? Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
I think so,
fourth,
at
four?
as far as I can
That's
tell.
enough notice.
Yeah, I just have to go and publish it tonight before I leave, and then.
Yeah.
I'll have to see if I can get there.
4 o'clock?
I mean, would you rather have it at
Yes.
5?
Well, it's just I've gotta get a sitter, cause I think my wife's got a appointment at that time, but
Okay.
I can work on it. No, I'd rather do it earlier, but.
Would you rather do it earlier?
Yeah.
Okay, so if everybody's in agreement, the
Yep.
planning staff will look at
We will.
You guys all need to make a motion on that.
the
because it's a
4th at
special
4
meeting.
o'clock. Okay, can I guess, get a motion from someone on the board for a special meeting on December 4th at 4 PM?
I will make a motion that we hold a special meeting of the planning board to review the downtown revitalization project draft generic environmental impact statement on December 4th at 4 p.m.
Okay. Second?
Yeah.
By Rick. Any further comment or questions? If not, roll call?
Rick Perry,
Yes.
Reg Carter,
Yes.
Kirk Irvich.
Yes.
Jim Abdullah,
Yes.
Derek Rosenbaum.
Yes,
Sorry, I thought midway through that, Marissa, what is her return date?
30th, I think.
Her out of office message keeps saying like December something.
Okay. Well, then if everybody has a good chance to take a look at things and
Yeah.
can sort of be prepared for that night, or that afternoon, that'd be great.
read it after eating Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wake you back up. Tryptophan and generic environmental impact statements.
Don't eat it
Perfect
after
combo.
eating Thanksgiving.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, comments, motion to, Adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
okay.
Reg Carter,
Here. Yes.
Kirk Irvich.
Yes.
Jim Abdullah.
Yes.
Derek Rosenbaum,
Yes.
Rick Perry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Wow.
Yeah, sweet. Thank you, you guys. Oh my God, these packages are just.
Yeah.
So are you
Getting there.
selling,
Melina's
So
awesome.
what?
Sapphire Village?
So
Thank
glad I
you.
stole her.
Thank you.
Very much.
I so like.
Well, whatever the,
Stole her
College
and
app.
For
No.
corralling all of our.
No, Roger did it on his
Melina,
own.
where do you
Right.
live?
Good friends with Pat Leary's
She's a
the
tenant.
buyer.
that's what I thought, what was Kenny here for then?
He's buying the subdivided parcel.
The other
Yeah.
3 30 units.
No, Kenny's buying the 10.
10.
Pat's buying
Pat's buying the
the,
30.
yes.
Okay. And I saw Pat here last time and I assumed he was buying the 10, cause he had told me he was looking at something, cause he said it was more units. And then I saw Kenny, I'm like, well, what the
Are they all on?
Kenny's